Thank you so much. Thanks to the Levett team. Really great to be here. Thanks to all the other presenters. And of course, thank you for joining, for everyone who's joined the event. It's great to be here. My name's Simon. I look after Google Workspace for Education across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Really pleased to just take you through the product. In the brief amount of time we have, we'll take a look at security and teaching and learning. And we'll take a look at, maybe what's coming along or any key updates along the way. Although I will mention that there are some big updates coming in about a week or two, so stay tuned for those as well. Let's briefly look at Workspace for Education to level set. Before we do that, I want to share with you the commitment we bring to education, which is really about enabling impactful teaching and learning for everyone from anywhere. So, we've heard the Levett team mention already, Paul already mentioned, right, the huge disruption we've seen over the past couple of years. I know we're all familiar with this, and we've seen that too, and I think it's reflected in the numbers here. What this slide doesn't tell you is a couple of years ago we were supporting 90 million students and educators worldwide. Now we're supporting 170 million, so it kind of tells a story right there, the significant leap to digital learning technologies like never before. It's quite an interesting time, really. And when we think about Google Workspace as well, in a nutshell, what is it really? It's a product that offers more choice, control, and flexibility to meet your organization's needs, to meet your school's needs. And we're talking about premium security, admin controls and analytics, as well as enhanced learning capabilities. And really, what makes up Google Workspace for Education are these 4 editions. We'll go from left to right, just a level set on the editions. Excuse me. So starting with Education Fundamentals on the far left here, which is our free edition. It's a powerful free suite of tools that enables collaborative learning on a secure platform, right? So docs, sheets, slides, Gmail, calendars, forms, you name it. I'm sure you're familiar with all these tools. It's a very powerful baseline offering that we are committed to always offering, continually offering to every eligible education institution for free. And then we have 3 paid editions that really only came into play over the past couple of years. And as recent as last year, we relaunched these editions to provide better flexibility. So you'll see how they're broken out. For example, our Education Standard edition offers advanced security controls and analytics tools. The Teaching and Learning Upgrade, which is probably our most flexible, or it is our most flexible edition, offers enhanced educator tools, so really focusing on the teaching and learning, obviously. And finally, the best of the best edition, if you will, Education Plus, which is our comprehensive solution, really including everything above and then adding additional functionality as well. So the reason we split these editions out this way is to serve our different customers and the different needs, and I suppose the growing needs we see within education as well. So we'll dig into security and insights to start with. A bit of context around what we're seeing as well. Unfortunately, we're seeing an increase in cyber attacks. I've pulled some stats from our friends across the pond. So we do see these trends repeated globally though. 2020 was the worst year on record for cybersecurity incidents. We know that's increasing. One of the alarming stats here is K-12 education institutions, the most targeted segment for ransomware. So really what I'm getting at here is never been as important to make sure that we're keeping our digital learning environment safe, no matter what tools we're using. So let's dive in to take a look at security, right, and how you can protect your school with advanced security tools, admin controls, and analytics to give you more insights, visibility, and control. And really, I want to focus on, there's so much we could talk about, but I just want to focus on 3 hero features, let's call them. The security help page, the security dashboard, and the investigation tool. What I might do is just jump across, actually, see if I can get this to happen. Yeah, I'm just going to jump into the admin console and show you these tools very briefly. So I'm just going to navigate down to the security center here, and you'll see those three tools I'm talking about. We'll jump into the health page to start with. And quite often, when I'm talking to customers, what I get a lot around security, what I hear a lot from the customer is, how do I know what's going on? How do I know what security settings I've set? How do I know what OUs I've set them for? Because it's hard to keep track sometimes. How do I know that I'm kind of doing things, according to best practice, let's say? Well, that's what's so great about Security Health, because it's like a one-stop shop where you can come and check all your security settings here. You can see the setting names, and you can navigate across and see what the status is. So for example, maybe desktop access to Drive, the status is that it's been disabled for the entire organization. If we keep coming along to the right here, we can see that there's a little recommendation from Google here that is saying that this is, it's giving it the tick of approval. We haven't enabled this. This reduces the risk of data leaks. You can learn more, links to support articles. So it's actually a really good resource as well for IT admins to learn more about some of these security settings before they actually switch them on. And when they want to switch them on, they can do so from within the tool as well. So think of it as a doctor's checkup. It's not somewhere that you come every day, but maybe a few times a year. It's good to work through this with a great partner like Levett as well, I would say. Next, I want to show you the dashboard, and the security dashboard is something that's a little bit more, this is where you would come more frequently as an IT admin. It's your one-stop shop to everything that's happening in real time across the domain. So great analytics and insights across the security posture, as you can see here. Just to kind of show you, you can set by date range, you can investigate up to 180 days historicals. You can check out across the domains that you may have under your remit. You can even customize this, by the way, if you don't want certain dashes to appear. So you can really tailor this, which is quite handy. But importantly, this is about getting across things like external file sharing or authentication or spam filter phishing, which is a really good example. And actually, we might use this as a quick example here to show you what's possible. So we might want to take a look at this because we're quite interested in the spikes that we're seeing here in spam filter, which is alarming. This third hero feature, which is actually this investigation tool I mentioned before. So you can basically launch an investigation right from the dashboard. That's the beauty of it. It's a seamless integration to just quickly launch an investigation if you want to dig in to anything in particular. And as you can see, this is loading up the fields that were pre-selected in the dashboard. And then it's giving us a lot more information here about this potential threat. This isn't the potential threat, by the way, but I'm just showing you to illustrate. You could dig into this email, for example. You could even dig into the message. I've got mine set to that an IT admin has to leave a justification for audit trails, which is great. I could dig into that and have a look at that email. Now, let's just say that I did have a look at this email. I thought, this is a phishing attempt. Maybe there were 20 emails here. I could simply just select all and decide what I want to do with it. So in a matter of seconds, I could just delete that message. Maybe it's a phishing attempt that went out to 1,000 students, for example, and before I've had my morning coffee on a Monday morning, I've dealt with that cyber attack. So pretty great. That's the security hero features in a nutshell. Real quick, I'm going to come back to the presentation. I'm very conscious of time and our other wonderful presenters. So let's just come back over here. Hopefully that gave you an idea of some of the functionality and some of the capabilities and how that's useful within your environment. Aside from the security features and security tools, there's also these holistic admin controls in the premium features that better protect your community. And as you can see, there's many, right? So from advanced mobile device management. So here we are, context-aware access. This is something I wanted to talk to. And really, the features within the name, right? It is what it says on the packet. But basically, it can be used to create access control policies based on attributes like user identity location, device security status, IP address. So, for example, perhaps you want to limit access to the apps and make sure that only approved devices can access the apps. And that's a really great way to kind of tighten your security. You can take it a step further and say, I actually don't want any staff or students accessing the apps outside of the country or outside of the IP range of the school, for example. So just one example of what you can do with some of these admin controls. And a couple of new updates that are coming soon that a lot of our solution engineers are really excited about to better secure, the information within your domains is drive labels and drive trust rules. So drive labels, really with drive labels, admins are going to be able to have added controls to classify files stored in Drive based on the content's sensitivity levels. It can help you be more proactive about protecting some of the community's most sensitive data, basically, like personal identifiable information. And quite often we see that kind of information being shared, not on purpose, but by accident. So it's about mitigating those kinds of threats. And Drive Trust Rules, which is about providing more control over how files can be shared within and outside of an organization. So one example would be if an admin wants to allow a handful of staff members to be able to share documents with anyone across the entire school, but only allow students to share files with people in their specific class, for example. So more granular controls where our customers need them. And just on the teaching and learning side, I know I'm just blowing through this really quickly. So feel free to ask questions later on. There's so much more we can talk about. We're all very familiar with the fact that we did a lot of work on Google Meet over the pandemic to meet the needs of distance learning. In particular, we also have more premium functionality around originality reports, our anti-plagiarism tool, and there are more tools and functionality to come on the teaching and learning set. But what's interesting about like Meet, for example, is that we're seeing use cases now in the era of hybrid learning where they're being used in different ways. So things like breakout rooms and attendance tracking and just Meet in general are being used in ways we wouldn't have thought. So it's quite interesting. We'll get into that in a second. Really quickly, I just want to point out some Meet updates you may have missed, just in case you missed some of these. Like for example, in Education Plus, the Meet limit's been increased from 250 to 500 attendees, which a lot of our customers that was like a big ask from a lot of our customers. So pleased to bring that update. On the live streaming front, also in Education Plus, schools can have up to 100,000 viewers now to broadcast larger assemblies or sporting events or inter-school community events. And closed captions are coming to live streaming for a more engaging experience as well. And breakout rooms as well. Just some updates here, like you'll be able to create up to 100 breakout rooms, set them up in advance from Calendar, which is great, right? It saves time and reduces stress for teachers, because when we initially rolled out breakout rooms, you had to do it on the fly, so to speak. So very simple updates, but important optimizations for some of our key teaching and learning tools. Here's what one of our customers in Sweden actually had to say about breakout rooms. I think this is one of those points I was making about the hybrid learning use cases that we're seeing. So the students come back to physical classrooms, while some of their classmates remain at home, teachers can still use Meet and breakout rooms to continue the collaboration. And I found that really interesting, because it's true. We're now in an environment where we're used to having the capability of continuing our collaboration in our teaching and learning, no matter whether we're in the classroom or not, right? Like I'll use myself as an example right now. I'm based in the UK, in London, but right now I've come back to visit my family in Perth, Western Australia, and it's 10 past 8. I'm collaborating with you all, which is pretty amazing. Think of, over a short period of time, what is possible, not just in teaching and learning, but actually in the workplace, which is where our students are eventually going to go as well. So on originality reports, we have a couple of extra updates as well. So if you missed this, originality reports is launching across 15 languages. It now checks across Google Slides as well, and it also checks peer-to-peer plagiarism within your domain, which makes it a much more comprehensive offering, I would say, when it comes to anti-plagiarism. And the benefit here is, obviously this is relating to more senior students within K-12 and obviously beyond in higher education as well, but very useful that this exists within Google Workspace for Education. You don't have to go and buy a third-party tool and spend extra money. Another customer quote, same customer here, really impressed with originality reports as a massive time saver. So before originality reports, students had to send their work to teachers by email, and the teachers had to put the student work into the application, another tool, which is a much more manual process. So glad to see it streamlining the lives of our customers. Aside from the security, admin, insights, and the teaching and learning, in Education Plus, we're adding more features all the time. And I'm just going to highlight one, which I think is really pretty great, actually, really useful admin feature, which is document approvals. It's a very, very handy tool that helps get decisions and feedback faster with a built-in process in Google Drive, so Gmail Docs and other editors. Docs is probably the best example. So if you have a doc and you have maybe a proposal, but you need various stakeholders to sign off on that, I'm sure you're all familiar with sending 1,000 emails back and forth until you get a final approval weeks or months later. This really streamlines that. I use this myself. I love this feature. It couldn't have come soon enough. And just a few final updates really quickly. Transcripts coming to Google Meet. So the ability to save and archive transcriptions of video calls directly to Drive. Extremely useful for revision and records as well, and further purposes, right, for creating teaching plans, for example. Here's a big one, classroom add-ons. So maybe you're a teacher who loves to use third-party tools like book widgets or Kahoot, for example. And it's frustrating, we hear from our customers, to have to navigate away from Classroom to some third-party tool. Get the logins right, some students get left behind, can be a little bit laborious. So we're bringing Classroom add-ons to basically bring those third-party tools right into Classroom, so it's just streamlined and very easy. And even better, the quizzes that you run and the kind of engagement you have with those tools will be gradable in Classroom to make it more effective as well. Something coming to Workspace later this year for international. It's rolled out in America already, but it's coming to international later this year, is Classroom Roster Sync. So syncing Classroom rosters with the student information system, just to make it more streamlined experience. So no more manually creating classes and inviting students. I know there are other tools for this as well, but it's nice to know that this will exist within Google Workspace for Education. There are many, many more updates. I'll mention that we have a big round of announcements coming out within a couple of weeks. I just want to mention that there are some new teaching and learning updates that are coming. I would stay tuned for them because they're really going to give students a fantastic learning experience. They're going to save teachers a lot of time, but also they're going to enable teachers to spend more time doing what they should be doing, which is what they do best, right? The teaching and learning. And finally, they're going to give education leaders much, much better analytics around student outcomes, which is very exciting. So stay tuned for those. In a nutshell, Google Workspace for Education offers choice, control, flexibility, and it does it securely. I could have spent hours talking about just the security, but we just don't have time for that. The last thing I'll say is, if you're interested, you should definitely have a chat with Levett. Get yourself a free trial, 60-day trial of Google Workspace for Education Plus, which includes 50 licenses. And it gives you the opportunity to really test drive all the features that we've spoken about and many, many more. And Levett are really able to help provision these trials for you and support you, as you saw in their comprehensive presentation earlier, just how experienced they are within the digital transformation landscape as well. Thank you so much. I'm going to pass back to Levett.